everybody. So this is month 4 of the $5 Quilt Club. This month you're going to be making your inner ring and background triangles to do that. So there's a lot of steps involved in this month's block. So I'm going to go over a few of the questions. If you have questions, you can always call us and ask, or you can watch this video again, because it should answer most of your questions. This is the month that we've been talking about where you will cut into your big pieces of fabric. This is your background fabric. I chose this one to show as an example because I'm standing next to this quilt. So here's blues, blues, blues. This is my main background fabric. This is my inner ring. So it's this piece here. So this is the month that we're starting to cut into that. So go ahead and get that out because you're going to need width of fabric yardage. Okay? Okay, the first cut that you're going to do is a 10.5-inch easy angle, and I just wanted to show you quickly today that your 10.5-inch strip is actually the full width of your fabric, just because that can be a little bit confusing. So if you lay your easy angle on your 10.5-inch strip, it's going to take up the whole piece of fabric. So lay it on there and cut it as usual, okay? So that's the first thing I wanted to show you. The second thing I wanted to show you, you're going to be cutting a 6.5-inch strip from your width of fabric. You're going to take your 6.5-inch width of fabric strip and you're going to cut a companion angle. And that's going to be a little confusing because your companion angle says it only cuts a 5.5-inch companion angle. But it's really easy to do. You're going to line your companion angle up with the top of your strip. Wherever you start to cut your companion angle, you just need to make sure that at the bottom you've got enough room at your corner to finish that out. So what you're going to do is take your companion angle, make sure it's straight across the top of your strip, make sure that you have cut an accurate 6.5-inch width of fabric strip. Then you're going to take a second ruler, line it up on the edge of your companion angle, just like that. When you take away your companion angle and you go ahead and cut along that line, it will give you your 6.5-inch companion angle. Again, I'm just going to line this back up here so you can see this. When I go over here and do this, same thing. See, I want to make sure that my second ruler actually finishes out on the fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and cut down there, and that's going to give me a 6.5-inch companion angle. Okay? So that answers that question right there. The next one you're going to cut is also a little bit confusing. It is a 3 3/8-inch companion angle. So cut an accurate 3 3/8-inch strip, and then take your companion angle, and you're going to line it up on the top of your strip just like that, and you're going to notice that it comes just between the 3 1/4-inch line and the 3 1/2-inch line. So you're going to go ahead and cut that, and it's going to be a 3 3/8-inch. It'll be accurate if you've cut a 3 3/8-inch width strip. Okay? So those are just a couple tips for your cutting. Remember, you are cutting with the fabric this time. You have with the fabric pieces. So the next couple pieces are a little bit confusing, but you just need to take your time and do it step by step. I'm going to show you a couple examples. And I'm just going to move these off the board here so that we have plenty of room. The next step under diagram 1 on the second page of your pattern has you cutting some strips. And so you've cut them the right length already. And you're going to lay them out on your cutting mat, and they're going to look like this because you have not cut them yet. It's a real easy process. You're going to take your easy angle, and you're going to take the end that has no tip, line it up on the edge of your strip, and cut right here, okay? And then you want to make another cut that is parallel to that, so you're actually going to just turn this strip upside down and do the same thing on the other end. And what I like to do when I'm doing this is just visually look at my strip, look at the picture, and make sure that I've got it placed correctly. So you're going to do that, you're going to cut this tip off, and you're going to end up with a strip that has 2 parallel angles. Okay? You're going to do that on several pieces of your strips. Read through the directions carefully and make sure you do this with the right length strips, because you have some 14 and 7/8 inch length strips and you have some 12-inch strips that you're going to be doing that with, okay? So that's the first step you're going to do. And I'm just going to put these back together so I can demo this again later. And then you're going to do your next step is actually you're going to take your strip, and again, pretend that I have not cut these. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to take this easy angle and you're going to trim here. But instead of doing two side angles that are parallel to each other, we want opposite angles here. So after we've cut this one off, we're going to flip this way. And what I did when I flipped it is I then just looked at the picture and made sure I had my angle going the same way it is in the picture down on diagram 3. Okay, or it's diagram 4 actually. And then I'm going to take my easy angle, line it up, and I'm going to cut this tip off. And now I have a strip where the angles are both going in. Okay, and this one, my angles are parallel. So these are the separate sets of strips that I should have. And I'm going to have them in all different length strips because we're going to do several different things with them. Okay? So that's that portion. And then you're going to take those strips and you're going to sew them to some different triangles. So you're going to create one of these. And the way you're going to do that is you're actually going to miter corners. And a lot of people get a little bit freaked out about mitered corners. I have a favorite tool that I like to use to make mitering corners easy and a couple tips for you. If when you cut these triangles this time, when you cut these triangles earlier when you're doing your cutting, if you actually go ahead and cut all your tips off, this is going to be really easy to do. So that's just something to remember. So go ahead and do that. But the first thing you're going to do is sew one of your strips, looks like this, onto this triangle, okay? And when you go to do that, I take my quilter's quarter marker and I use my angle B because that is the angle you need for a mitered corner. And I'm just going to line that right up on my strip and take my favorite marker and make a mark right through the hole on this quilter's quarter marker. That little mark is exactly where I'm going to stitch to. So I'm going to stitch from here all the way over and stop right there. And I like to do a lock stitch right there. My machine doesn't make a knot, so it still gives me a flat seam, but it just does a couple extra stitches. So you can do just a couple extra stitches. I wouldn't back stitch. It sometimes gets a knot if you back stitch. Okay, then I'm going to actually fold that out of the way. I should have a little tip here. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to take this, line it up with my edge. And this one you can see where it was a little more difficult to line up because I didn't cut my tip off. If I'd cut my tip off, I can line those edges up perfectly. So that's just an example of how nice it is to line your tip up. That one was very easy to line up. So that's why I cut my tips off. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to take my quilter's quarter marker and I'm going to lay it on this right here. Excuse me, I'm going to lay it like this so that I can put my dot in. And I'm going to put my dot here. Again, I'm using point B on my quilter's quarter marker. Okay? And now I'm going to stitch from here out to my little point B. That is going to give me a tip that looks pretty much like this with these two ends unstitched. I'm going to place them together like this. You can see that I've got that triangle hanging down between, and I'm just going to lay these out nice and flat. Now I should still be able to see my mark that I made previously, but if I can't, I'm going to go ahead, line this up, and make another mark there. And then I'm going to stitch from here on out. So then you have created this. This is the first step of your Unit A that we're going to piece. Okay, then you're going to take Unit A and you're actually going to fold that in half where the dotted line is on your pattern. Okay, and you're going to take an 8.5-inch ruler and line it up on here so the bottom is across that, and you've got an 8¼ inch mark right here on your 8½. You're going to cut these tips off 8¼ inches from that center line. So you just go ahead and cut those right there. Okay. So then you've got a piece that looks pretty much like this. Okay. You are then going to sew another triangle to that because you're going to make this unit. So you can see this is where I've cut off my tips. I'm sewing this triangle on right here, and so you just line it up right with that straight edge, and it's only going to come to here. This top is going to hang out, okay? You're going to stitch that on and stitch that on the other side, and then you're going to take your 8½ inch ruler and you're going to cut that right off. So you've actually got a rectangle. Okay? That is Unit A. There's a lot of steps to that, but it's really easy if you follow step by step. And like I said, if you use the good tools, the Quilter's Quarter Marker is only $7.99, so it's a nice tool. The next piece you're going to make, you're going to take one of your strips that has the angles going the same way, and you're going to sew one of your 3 3/8 inch companion angles to that. When you stitch that on, it'll lay like this. You line up both those tips that you've trimmed off, stitch a 1/4 inch down, press that back, and you end up with this. Then you're going to sew that piece to a triangle. Put your triangle right here. Okay? I can give you an example of that. You're going to stitch this is not the correct size triangle, but you're going to stitch your correct size triangle on right there. Okay? Then, your next piece, you're basically just going to stitch your Unit C, a triangle, to one of your pieces with parallel edges. Unit D is a triangle to one of your pieces with the edges going in. Unit E is one with parallel edges. And Unit F is similar to Unit B, where you stitch one of these to a triangle. And then in Unit G, you are making another one of these with a mitered corner. So as long as you take step by step, you're going to be just fine making this square. There's a lot of details to pay attention to, but you're going to have a lot of fun. Make the number of units that the pattern calls for, and you should be just fine. Let us know if you have any questions. Thanks very much.